I want to greet you once again. My name is Nompumelelo Myeni, and I want to welcome you to this short conversation that I want to have with you today. And today we are going to speak about reimagining ourselves. And in that, I want to teach you a few things about how you can use your imagination to propel you to where you want to go in life. And one of the most important things about this is that we're not using a tool that comes from elsewhere, but we're using a tool that comes from within you. In actual fact, we're using you to help you. And how is that for something that is actually going to be positive for your life? This will cost you absolutely nothing, but it will just take your time in order for you to refocus on yourself and see the things that lies within yourself that can help you go ahead in life. Now, what are we talking about when we're talking about imagination? We're talking about allowing ourselves to draw a picture of where we want to go in our lives and enabling ourselves to use that picture to draw us towards itself. So how do you draw a picture? Instead of writing a 1-line or 2-line vision about your life, you in fact write a very detailed vision about your life to ensure that you know each and every detail of what you want to see in your life in future. How do you do this? You start by taking a pen and paper, obviously, if you're going to write, but you need to put down the things that you want to see in your life in future. How do you look like? If let's say, for instance, you want to be an athlete, what kind of athlete and what does your life look like when you are a medalist? Now, you can start to say that I live in this kind of house, I drive this kind of car, I wear these kind of clothes, and I do all of that. And all of that helps you to draw a picture, an imaginary picture in your mind about where you want to go. Now, why is this useful? This is useful because any picture that you draw inside yourself about yourself is able to become a driving force towards you succeeding in your life. Now, how does it become a driving force? Because it becomes something you think about, and our thoughts is what we become. We become what we think about. So you think about it often, you work towards it often, you propel your energy towards it often, so that's how then it draws itself. You draw yourself towards it, and that's how eventually one day you'll find that when you look at what you have written, it looks exactly like how your life looks like at that time. Now, I wrote this on my social media not so long ago, and I wrote about a dream team that we used to have in high school. It was just a group of us girls who were friends, and all we did was exchange sweet value books that we used to read, and we would sit and imagine our lives being those girls, living where they live, eating what they eat, wearing what they wear. And in that imagination, we started to draw ourselves the pictures of what we want to become in future. And in drawing that, it allowed us to be able to now identify what resources we need in our lives in order to get to where we want to go. I remember a friend of mine had said that they wanted to become a doctor. They are a doctor today, and they knew exactly what kind of resources they were going to need. They needed their mathematics and their science, so they had to focus on it. And then study further and go to medical school, get good grades in high school, and study further and go to medical school. Now, all of these are intentional identifications. They don't just happen. We don't let things just go the way that they want to go, but you intentionally imagine what you want to see in your life, and in that imagination you start to draw plans that will get you to where you want to go. Now, many of us want to just live. I'm going to school. Why are you going to school? Because my parents told me to. I'm going to university. Why are you going to university? Because my parents told me so. We need to stop doing things because other people said so, but we need to start doing things that are intentionally impacting our lives in order for us to get to where we want to go in life. Now, what happens when you just live because you want to live? You find that you start to draw in other people's dreams and visions, and you find you've got nothing on yourself to show for the years that you have lived. But when you are intentional about it, you know that how other people come into your life, they've got to have something that contributes towards the picture, the imagination picture that you've drawn on your mind. You need to have a space or a picture where that space lies within yourself. Then you are able to actually always refer back to it Am I getting to where I want to go? Am I still going the direction that I want to go to? Or am I now deterred? Am I now disturbed? One other example that I can use, maybe of a teenage girl with big dreams, and all of a sudden they find themselves, there's this young guy comes in and the guy says, I love you, let's get married. And then eventually they forget their dreams and then they start to follow the other person's dream, only to remember later on that this is not the imaginary picture that I drew for myself. So it's always important that anything that happens in ourselves, we measure it against the picture that we have of ourselves in future. Always do that. It's important, because every time when anything happens and you've got no measure for it, it is bound to take you to a direction that you did not intend to be the direction that you're taking in your life. So you do what? You always measure. Every time any person that comes into your life with anything that they bring, you always measure it against the imaginary vision that you've got of where you want to go with yourself. If your intention was going to university and somebody comes and says, no, you know what, let's start this business, it's going to work and all of that, you bring your picture back and you measure against your picture. Is starting this business right now going to get you to my picture where I want to go? And if the answer is no, be honest. And that's another point. Be honest about the things that come into your life that don't fit into your picture. Be honest and faithful to your picture, because your picture may change, but the core of it, which is yourself, will not change. So that's why you need to be faithful to it. You need to be honest towards it all the time. Now, many of us will say that we have imagined ourselves, we've drawn a picture for our lives, but we find that where we are right now is really not where we wanted to go. I want to give you something that is absolutely amazing about our minds, is that what we have imagined today, we can always reimagine it tomorrow. So no matter the disappointments that have come towards your life, you can always use your mind to reimagine yourself once again, to reimagine your life once again, to reimagine your vision once again, so that when you get to that point that you feel like you are standing at the crossroads and you don't know which direction to take, you can then use your imagination once again to say, this is where I am now, this is where I find myself now, so what then from here? You reimagine your picture, you redraw your picture. Somebody would say, I was not planning to have a child at 16 and now I have a child at 16 and I feel like now my life, I don't know where my life is going to go. I want to tell you that the most amazing thing that God has given you is your ability to reimagine and re-strategize your own life. You can still do that no matter what has happened, no matter what mistakes you have done. Just like how God forgives us, we can still forgive ourselves and reimagine our life once again. So it's one of those critical points and critical things that if we're failing to forgive ourselves, it's not easy for us to reimagine ourselves being something good or being something better. So you forgive yourself so that you can start to be able to see yourself being something better, no matter what mistakes. Sometimes when we lose things or when we lose people around ourselves that have sort of had a contribution towards our lives in some way or the other, we find that we always struggle to reimagine ourselves and reimagine our lives, because we can't imagine our lives without them. We can't imagine our lives without it. And it's one of the words that we use, especially in our in love relationships and all of that. We use that to say that I can't live without you, I can't imagine myself without you. We need to be a resourceful people that no matter what we lose, no matter who comes and who goes in our lives, we are able to reimagine ourselves and remove ourselves to a point where we can then see a brighter future that has value for us in the long run. Now, in reimagining ourselves, I want to just give you 2 pointers of questions that you can ask yourself. The first one is, who am I right now? And you need to answer that question honestly. Who am I right now? And if somebody, it's easy when somebody says, who are you? For me to say, my name is Nompumelelo. No, that is not what I'm asking. Who are you? I'm asking the life that you are living. who are you? And one of the things that bothered Jesus at some point was that, who do people say I am? Because it's critical to always understand and always know who is it that you project and who is it that you take out or you are sharing out there with people. And that's why it's so important for you to answer that question. This is a question you answer yourself when you are reimagining yourself. Who am I right now? And the follow-up question from that is that, who do I aim to be? Because in a state of reimagination, you might have lost something, you might have been disappointed, you might have been angered, you might have been robbed of some opportunity. But right now, because you are reimagining, you're saying, who am I right now? And you answer that question honestly. And the second question is, who am I aiming to become? And you answer that as well honestly to yourself. Because these two questions have an ability to assist you to create a solid and a stable vision for yourself, that now you can draw yourself towards it, rather than to give up, rather than to let go, rather than to just allow things to be in your life. But you're giving yourself now an opportunity to redraw. You take that pen and paper and you start to redraw your life. I might have seen myself as maybe, let's say, a doctor at some point. But unfortunately, this is not where I am right now. So what is it that I have? Who am I right now? Let me identify my strengths. Let me identify my weaknesses. Let me identify my opportunities, so that I will understand who I am, to a point that I'm able to answer the question of who I want to be. These are honest conversations that you can have with yourself. Don't wait for somebody else to now come and start questioning you, but be a person who's able to sit down and have a chat with you. Don't be afraid to open you up to yourself, because we open ourselves up to people and they abuse us and they take and leave, and they use what they can and throw away what they can't. So we need to be at a space where we can have this honesty with just ourselves and ensure that those conversations that are hard to have with other people, they are easy to have with ourselves. I need to know where I'm weak at, so that I can be able to work at it to be a strength. I need to know what is my strength so that I can use it to go forward in my life. I need to know what are my opportunities so that I can take the opportunities at the right time. Now, in all of that understanding, many people do this understanding for their businesses. They will do SWOT analysis. They will do whatever. Many people, when they're looking for jobs, they can do this for the roles that they want to take. But I want to urge you to say, may you do this for yourself, a personal SWOT analysis that you're able to sit with and draw from it, what is it and who are you and where do you want to go. And I want to say to you that having done that, whenever you walk or wherever you go, you will not find yourself in situations where you start giving up or letting go of who you are only to please other people, but you'll always be grounded in the fact that I know who I am and I know where I'm going. And every time you always draw back, you'll always come back to that center. I know who I am and I know where I'm going. And I want to encourage you today that you don't have to have millions to be able to answer this question about yourself. But if you answer this question, perhaps you can be able to make your millions one day, if that's your goal, because not everybody wants to be a millionaire and not everybody wants a big, massive business. Some of us just want to be happy, or some people just want good health, and that's what they're working towards. They want a good family relations, and that's what they're working towards. So all that you are working at, make it your center and answer those questions that matter. Who am I and where am I going? Those are the questions that I want to leave with you today. Let me thank you and say I hope that you have gained a lot today, and say thank you for taking your time and watching this video.